If you've ever experienced creative flow, you know how unbelievably satisfying and fun and enriching this experience can be. And yet, toxic patterns can show up, getting in our way. It has to do with subconscious beliefs. Basically, that's it. This is week 10 of Julia Cameron's Artist's Way, and I've been following the 12-week recovery program for unblocking my creativity. Here we go. I'm just going to jump right into it. This week is about recovering a sense of self-protection. Drought. She talks about this. There's like dry seasons, and this is normal and very uncomfortable. And I think the urge to make up all kinds of things during droughts is incredibly common. Like there's we are meaning making machines, and filling in all of these doubts and fears and insecurities during droughts is just one of the things that we do. However, I feel like this is an opportunity to really uncover some of these things and peel back the onion. That could be something that you know, cultivate during droughts, is really understanding yourself better and um, what kinds of thoughts come up for you during these drought periods. And I think journaling is really a great salve for periods like this. First thing that Julia Cameron brings to our attention is workaholism. And this is a tricky one because, uh, you know, we get a lot of rewards for workaholism. I just had to quickly read through these and recognize, yeah. I don't, it's like it wasn't like a deep dive for me. I recognize that it's just like kind of crisis in this country. That's what I think. If you live in another part of this country and you have a different experience, I would love to know about your experience and where it is that you live. I was talking to a person from Germany, and she was like making an observation. She was like, wow, is everyone in this country like a workaholic? I thought it was really interesting to hear that coming from another country, um, that like the grind here is pretty normal. And it's not only normal, it's expected. Like a 9 to 5 job is pretty unheard of. Like, to do well in a career, you need to put in extra, go over the top. It's like what used to be a college degree is now a master's degree, is now a PhD. It's just on and on. And unfortunately, family, quality of life, these things are like bonus. Jump into this quiz that she lays out. I work outside of the office. Number one, I work outside of office hours, seldom, often, never. Two, I cancel dates with loved ones to do more work, seldom, often, never. Three, I postpone outings until the deadline is over, seldom, often, never. Four, I take work with me on weekends. You can seldom, often, never. You can go through those. I take work with me on vacations. I take vacations, seldom, often, never. My intimates, I guess my loved ones complain I work, seldom, often, never. I try to do two things at once. I allow myself free time between projects, seldom, often, never. I allow myself to achieve closure on tasks, seldom, often, never. I set out to do one job and start on 3 more at the same time, seldom, often, never. I allow calls to interrupt and lengthen my work day, guilty as charged. 15, I prioritize my day to include an hour of creative work, Seldom, often, never. I place my creative dreams before my work. Seldom, often, never. I fall in with others' plans and fill my free time with their agendas. Guilty. I allow myself downtime to do nothing. Seldom, often, never. I use the word deadline to describe and rationalize my workload. Seldom, often, never. Going somewhere, even to dinner with a notebook or my work numbers is something, or like phones. I do. Seldom, often, never. So work abuse creates in our artists a Cinderella complex. So that's a bummer. Uh, so there's a distinction between what she calls, I don't know, some of these words are like zestful, work towards cherished goals, and workaholism. So like if you're in like a passion and you're like in the flow and you want to work for 3 days straight, that might be part of your creative process, and that is going to be, a distinction that you might need to understand about how you work. But and it's just no one else can really answer that for you. You know what I mean? Like you have to just be honest with yourself and um, is this help, contributing towards your um, artistic endeavors and your flow, or is it going against it? And it's subtle nuance, and I think that's part of the purpose of like getting into this work and doing these exercises and writing, is because it makes it clear. It makes it more clear. And I definitely have noticed that by week 10, I am crystal clear about what my patterns are and where I need to lean into blowing up some of these toxic habits. We have to develop a muscle for combating and recognizing what these toxic patterns are. And that's really the first step, is because if we can recognize it, then we can be like, oh, that's that's the saboteur, that's my sensor, that's my yada yada, that's this old belief that I have, and this is how it's manifesting. Um, so it's kind of cool, but also a little yucky, but ultimately it's cool because it's going to allow me to get past. There's like a glass ceiling. The more I get into this work, the more I can see, I can feel that glass ceiling and recognize it for what it is. So she talks about competition, and I think this is an area um, that's extremely tricky and very distracting. um, you know, some competition can be healthy. Like if there's a competition and you enter the competition, that can be a way to um, have a structured deadline project, whatever it is. But I think having a good sportsmanship around competition is really important, and to recognize that like there's always going to be people that are better and there's going to be people that are worse, and like you're in a spectrum, you're on a road, and you know having compassion for other people, yourself, and um understanding, using, if you see someone like, oh my god, this work is like incredible, I'm never going to be getting to this level, having it be like an inspiration and like wow, and just like marvel at it and just be like in the wonder of being with another creator and what is coming through them, rather than being like, oh yeah, now I'm just going to beat myself up. That's not the point. Fame. So, it's hard because I feel like if you want to be an artist, you like kind of need an audience. It's part of the joy and the magic is sharing the creative the outcome of the creative process. And it's also important to be part of that cycle um, of getting feedback. And we don't operate alone in a vacuum, making art on an island to ourselves. Part of the point to uplift in some way, to share it with others so that they might experience maybe not the same thing that you experience, but they're going to experience something, right? So I think for me, part of the point is to have that shared experience. With certain medium, like you have obviously with music, you definitely need an audience. With acting, you need an audience. That's part of the push. With painting, it's a little more subtle. It's more like curated what this experience of sharing with others is. Museums, galleries, institutions, and collectors, people wanting to have the art in their homes. So like there's different levels, right? Same with photography. Obviously photography has a whole other um, aspect of media. Each medium has their um, innate message thrust in the world. Each medium has its own way of like communicating. So I think that's really interesting, but I digress. Here's the problem with fame. The problem with fame is that it's sort of like it it can be testing your resolve on how committed to your making quality work. If you and I think a rubric that I want to have for myself is um producing, and you could apply this to like your job, or whatever you're doing in your life, you're caretaking, uh rather than the reward, which could be fame or like acknowledgement or like accolades or money, is leaning into creating quality work, whatever that means for you. It's sticky because you want to know that you're on the right track, and you want to interact. I mean, especially on like social media, you want to know that your message is hitting, and each, platform might have like different ways to hit. Um, so it's like, yeah, you want to communicate with others, but like also you want to make sure that you're being true to yourself. And she talks about this later of like, um, don't judge the work too early. So you have to like be true to yourself, and also let in, kind of like keeping the door open slightly to let in some feedback. Um, I think this is probably a good place to stand because, what is it that wants to come through you as a creator? And you are the person to say, you and your whatever higher power, am I hitting what I want to express with XYZ, right? Um, you're the last word, right? You can either say, I haven't hit it yet. Oh, I've landed on it, and this is the best I can say with this painting, film, video, photograph, and that's what I wanted to express. And then hopefully it comes across to your audience, whatever that audience is. So, judging your work too early can be unfortunate, and it can sort of cut off the creative process, because something that might seem ugly or like grammatically incorrect or weird or not understood at first could be where you start to take a different direction, and that could lead to something that's much that is the direction you're supposed to go, so it's tricky. It is. I'll just say that being an artist, or really being a creator, is not for the faint of heart. There's lots of um, going through this drought, dealing with, let's say you have fame, being able to tolerate, you're like, oh yeah, like that's what everyone dreams about, fame and fortune, right? But like being able to tolerate and still um, go through the experience and be true to yourself and be authentic and continue to create authentic work is no joke. You continue to strive for something that really feels right. I crashed and burned with my morning pages this week. I completely fell off. And I think I'm going to log this as one of my toxic habits, that when things start getting good, I kind of fall off of the things that are working. And I have to say that it was interesting to stop. Like, I had been pretty much, not perfectly, but pretty much consistently keeping up with morning pages. And then this week I filled one of these books from Muji, and I had bought another one, and like between the two apartments that I'm going back and forth from, like to and from, I left it somewhere and I can't find it. So yeah, I'm sure it'll show up. I'm like not too worried. Hopefully I didn't leave it at my like job, because that would be unfortunate. But so I don't know. Like I didn't make it important enough to like get a new notebook. These are great little notebooks for um writing in. I don't feel like it's like, oh my God, my important notebook. So I am going to pass by Emoji and pick up a couple more at the same time, so I have them, because now I recognize what a huge difference. So that was the benefit of not doing it for an entire week. I kind of took two steps back, I have to say. My reactivity is like much more than it had been in the past. I can't believe it. It's like such a big difference. And part of me feels like, oh no, like I don't want to be like dependent on these morning pages for the rest of my life. But you know what? For now, they're helping me to create new habits. And that's what I'm going to take away. I keep thinking of Viktor Frankl, who is really talked about expanding, between thought and action. I think this is what he said. I might be butchering it, but between thought and action is choice, and therein lies freedom. And like this is, if I can get this, I just feel like my life will open up. It's just one of those things. It is so incredibly hard. And when I have a thought and I just react, that's when you think you're like one with the thought. Having a separation between you and your thoughts is so critically important if you're trying to make an advance in your life in any real way. I mean, imagine being in a Nazi camp and you need to control, not to control, but like to get a hold of your emotions. And, it's like, I want to practice this. I want to own this. I want to get a hold of my emotions and why it feels so over tempting to just go there. Okay, enough said. There's also like an aspect, and I think I struggle with this a little bit as well, is like somebody else did it. Why should I bother? It's like some of these thoughts are like, what? Um, Originality is the process of remaining true to ourselves. And that could change, right? Being true to ourselves in one aspect of our creative process or one season of our life can mean different things than being true to ourselves. And that's the beauty, right? Is like we're changing. We're like organic beings. We're not going to be like staying the same. So I think that's part of the beauty of life is the ability to be changing. And, and therefore your art has to change too. So things I love. Okay. I'll just go back to the tasks. These are like number 2 on the tasks. I'll just go quickly through some of the things I love and share them with you. Mid-century modern furniture design and interiors, photography, flowers, being with loved ones, films, creeks in the woods, and like the sound of creeks in the wood. Not like creeks like when you step on like tree branches. Well, that's fun too, but like running water. um Old diners. I love an old diner. I used to go to this place called Spartan. It was on 78th and 2nd. It was a greasy spoon. It was like amazing. It was always packed with people. And there was things flying all the time and like stuff being made and breakfast being created, and it was so comforting to me. And I really miss it. I really miss that place. I think I have to find another place like that. But it was so great and it was so affordable, and everyone was in there, blue collar workers, rich people, like your neighbor. Like it was a family run business. It was so great. Anyway, I miss that place. Um, Retro things, like radios that you can like just turn the knob and get a different station. Um, Walks. I love walking. I'm doing much more walking now that I'm living in New York City. It's great. So that is definitely, I do miss driving, but I love walking and being able to like bop around the city. It's great. Listening to music, hot baths, yoga. Like these are the things that will instantly make me feel better. Um, Lighting a candle, flowers, like I said, and like cleaning and rearranging my space. I've been watching Paige recently and her channel on interior design. I really adore her and her wry sense of humor, and her design advice is fabulous. If you are interested in this content, please subscribe. That hair is really bothering me. Okay.